The drone is one of the most hated features of Garten of Banban. Described as slow and annoying to use, it only got the ability to control it directly in 7 and did not reappear in 0 or 8 anti-devil. So it's probably gone for good, but I don't want it to. This color mode is not nearly good enough on its own, and the drone just needs a few things for it to work. And I have good reason to say why, and it might feature one of the greatest puzzle games of all time. So buckle up, because we are bringing the drone back into the parents' hands. So I don't think I need to tell you what the game Portal is, or its sequel. Chances are you've heard of it because it is amazing and a gaming pop culture icon. It's a masterpiece of writing.
Please be advised that a noticeable taste of blood is not part of any test protocol, but is an unintended side effect of the aperture science material emancipation grill, which may, in semi-rare cases, emancipate dental fillings, crowns, tooth enamel, and teeth.
And puzzle design. And I am ashamed that I got both of the games for $2 because they were on sale. These games are worth so much more. But here's the thing, the portal gun isn't exactly a good puzzle mechanic on its own. It's this that makes it the incredible puzzle mechanic that it is. Yes, I know this is just a wall, but it's not any wall. A wall made of a non-portable surface. You can't place a portal on it. This is a limitation of the mechanics. A problem that you have to solve in order to progress. Something you work around. You can't just stand on this 1500 megawatt aperture science heavy duty super gliding super button, and create a portal through the door because this aperture science material emancipation grill, or fizzler, is a non-portable surface. You must use the portal gun to put an aperture science weighted storage cube, or cube on it, and then the door will stay open, so you can move through. This is the basic mechanics of it. In addition, the portal gun interacts with other mechanics that are introduced over time in other chambers, like the high energy pallet, military android, switches, unstationary scaffold, and victory lift. They are mixed together to create puzzles focusing on the portal gun as the key connecting element. Now let's look at the drone from where we left it in Garten of Banban 7. The drone's limitation is that you can't send it long distances. It stops a certain distance away from the player. You also can't command it into yellow glass, as it will not accept the command. These are great base limitations. The problem comes with the added mechanics. They only ever added 2, and it took several games to add 2 new features alongside the ones featured at base. And then, because people hated the drone so much, the brothers featured it less and less in each game, and never explored its potential. And these are excellent mechanics. The brothers limited where the Remote 2.0 feature could be used, and the pressure plates can be activated by different things, leading to multiple uses. Both are solid mechanics, but there should be more features. In addition, the game after the first one does a poor job of teaching and guiding the players. Portal is designed to teach players and set things up so that the player can understand how to use the portal gun and guides the player. The first several test chambers act as tutorial chambers, which focus on teaching mechanics, like Chamber 10, which is dedicated to portal flinging. This technique focuses on how momentum is maintained when players travel through portals, which allow them to fling themselves. The first room introduced it by having the orange portal placed on this panel that stands out. Taking note, the introduction chambers only grant access to one portal while the other is in a set position. When you place a portal and walk through it, the momentum is carried. For the second room, you must place the portal at the bottom of a pit that allows you to pick up speed by falling. This reinforces the idea and helps player understand. The third room further enforces some of the basic ideas, but also features you placing the portal on these panels that are pushed out from the wall. The developers chose to have the early flinging sections include panels that stand out, so players know what to do and where to put the portal. They even use an animation for the first time you have to place a portal on one to get your attention. They guide you to the solution. Besides all this, they make sure you understand how this works by featuring funny dialogue from GLaDOS in between each room.
Momentum, a function of mass and velocity, is conserved between portals. In layman's terms, speedy thing goes in, speedy thing comes out.
They make sure players remember this mechanic after they get access to both portals in Chamber 11 with Chamber 12. In Chamber 15, they expand it by introducing the double fling technique and having you need to do a fling without a push-out wall to guide you. Both things are important later on in the game and are introduced here in a nice progressional way. Garten of Banban 1 seems to do a good job with this. Once you get the drone, it's placed in front of the wall button, which signals a connection for players, and they connect the dots. The drone presses the button, but it doesn't work. So they naturally look around and see what they miss. And lo and behold, there is another button. Hitting this button opens the door and allows the player to progress. This very mundane sequence teaches the players 2 important things about the drone. It is primarily used to press these buttons, which can open doors, and sometimes it takes multiple buttons to do something. When collecting eggs on the playground, the player might notice this grayed out button, which doesn't work if you press it, but it gets lit up once they use the keycard scanner, and then they can press it to get this egg. This moment teaches a new principle and expands on a previous one. Sometimes a button has to be turned on and can do anything the game requires, not just open doors. Finally, the game teaches the player about the yellow glass I mentioned earlier. Now the game needs a final puzzle that uses everything the player has been taught to bring the whole thing together. Except Garten of Banban 1 doesn't have one, making it feel more like a tech demo for the mechanic than actually using one. Actually, the drone never gets any grand puzzles that challenge the players. The games build up to it, but never go through with it. In addition, the use of the drone just gets worse. Take this part from Garten of Banban 7, where I have to move the drone through this doorway. Most players don't think about this because they haven't been trained for it and act as if the wall isn't there. Not only is this a bad puzzle, but because of the room's layout and decoration, it's easy for the drone to get stuck, and the players haven't been taught how to deal with this. Now, how do we fix the problems in a way that the drone isn't a downside, but something that could be just as memorable and engaging as the crazy narrative that leaves most casual players extremely confused? Well, it's very simple, but requires a lot of thought. 1. Help the player understand how to use the drone so they don't get annoyed. In my unpublished Garten of Banban 8 anti-devil prediction, I wrote it in a section which helps the player get reintroduced to the drone. To help players grasp the idea of angling the drone in a way to press another button, I placed a wall in the center between this wall. The player hits this button, but also knows there's a button behind this wall. The drone is already in the right position for when they signal the drone to hit this button. Then they enter a hallway that does not have a button, but this wall instead has my replacement for yellow glass, which we will get to later. Then they have to do the same thing without the button. If they mess up, they get verbal advice from Flumbo. As they're decorated, these rooms have decoration in the areas not intended for the drone to go. Working to guide the player is hard and will require a lot of playtesting with different players to get it right, but once the player understands, their annoyance will go way down. Number 2. Introduce new mechanics. This one is simple. Garten of Banban Last Ticket to the Abyss only needs like 2 mechanics to help expand any drone puzzles. And it already has one, funny enough, with the color remote. We will talk about this later. What I would add to the drone is a crane attachment. It would allow you to pick up boxes and move them onto pressure plates. With limited boxes, it then becomes a matter of figuring out how to move them around to where you want. Then it becomes a matter of figuring out how to get this box to the other side if the door is holding open closes when removed. Number 3. Make the drone convenient to use. It's annoying to watch the drone slowly moving forward. This is because it uses acceleration. But when you're close to an object, it doesn't have the room or the time to speed up. Hitting a wall button from the wrong angle won't activate it, and what I have seen, and even done myself, is try to hit it again without readjusting, which doesn't work.
Nice. Oh my god, bro.
God.
So all it takes is adjusting the hitbox so it gets triggered from any angle. I know this isn't realistic, but in a game, it's okay to throw realism out the window if it makes things more inconvenient and also doesn't ruin your engagement. I also mentioned this yellow glass replacement earlier, which I named the Drone Control Blocker. It's basically yellow glass, but it doesn't get broken when hit, which slows the drone down to a halt normally. It is also inconvenient to use the Remote 2.0 because of its solution to clipping problems. If you play Garten of Banban 7, you probably remember after hitting something, the drone teleports. This is because upon hitting something, the drone's momentum pushes it down and can cause it to clip through the floor. To prevent this from breaking the game, if the drone goes down without player input in first person mode, it teleports it to its nearest teleport point. Clever but flawed solution. To fix this, upon hitting something, the drone could be programmed to apply an equal upward momentum, which could prevent it from moving. I'm not sure how viable that solution is though, so instead, how about further limiting the Drone 2.0's abilities by placing zones that if the drone's entire hitbox leaves, the player's kicked out. And to warn players of this, a visual warning could be placed if they get to the edge of these playable areas. I know that someone is asking, what about the color remote? Well, I don't like it as it is, but it could work. The player could swap between the 2 remotes at any time. And to add a limitation to this new remote, it only has 1 charge. Every time you power something with it, the charge is lost, so you have to go to another panel to use it. Garten of Banban 8 Anti-Devil actually does this, but only in the Varza boss fight. I even made an area that uses this as the key for a series of small, interconnected puzzles. This is what I imagine the first puzzle area could be like as it reintroduced the mechanic, and at the end of this room is the Remote 2.0. Ready to be used in the drone's big return. I want to see the drone get used again, because I completely believe this tool has potential to be memorable, and I want to see it reach that potential like the rest of the series. All it takes is a few changes, a lot of testing, and new features to help it shine. What mechanics would you like to see be used? Do you have any cool thoughts about the drone? Well, let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to keep on banning.